Hello everyone. The title of this video is going to be a little bit misleading, but I'm going to be talking about how I met my soulmate. And this story is kind of long, so if you don't want to watch a long video, I'd suggest you exit it now. But if you do, because I find long videos kind of entertaining, depending on what the topic is, so here you go.
Where in the world did the time go? It's where your spirit seems to roam, like losing faith to our abandon, or an empty hallway from a broken home.
This story starts out in freshman year, and I'm going to set the scene. I was on the bus, and I took the bus from school home and to school every single day. And I was this unpopular kid that everybody thought was weird and creepy. And I still had neon hair that everybody joked was the color of cotton candy and looked like cotton candy. So I was sitting down next to my best friend during freshman year, and we were just chilling there, and these two boys sit like in front of us, and I'm turned around talking to my friend, and suddenly I feel something pull on my hair, and I turn around, I'm like, what? And this kid's chewing on my hair, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, your hair tastes like cotton candy. It looked like it, so I figured it tastes like it. And I was like, okay. I was like, quit chewing on my hair. And his friend uses this as an excuse to start talking to me. And I'm sitting there, and he's like, hey, can I have your phone number? I'm like, you know what? Why not? I was like, I'd like more friends. And I put my phone number in his phone. And a couple minutes later, instead of the typical text, oh, this is so-and-so, here's my phone number, I got a text message saying, will you marry me? And I was like, well, sure. And from that day on, I was his wifey. After that, we started talking all the time. And a few months later, I was ready to tell him that I liked him, because I started having a really big crush on him. I thought he was really cute, funny, and he made me laugh, and he was just really sweet. And he had a girlfriend. He got a girlfriend, like, right after I was ready to tell him. And I was like, great. And I was sitting there trying to be happy for him, and I'm like, sweet, oh, she's so pretty, I'm so happy for you. And I'm just sitting inside like, really? Really? Why now? And you know that moment when your crush has a girlfriend or boyfriend and you're just like, no. And I ended up not knowing that they broke up. And I found out they broke up a few months later during the summer. Summer after freshman year, I went to Warped Tour with this kid. I'm pointing to my phone because he's texting me, and I'm pointing to my phone because he's texting me, but whatever, like he's here. But I ended up going to Warped Tour with him, and I'm sitting there the whole time, like right before I'm doing my hair up nice, and I never do my hair for stuff like that. Who does their hair for concerts like that? It's like 12 hours in the sun. But I'm sitting there like doing my hair as perfect as I can, spraying on my favorite perfume, just trying to look as good as I can. And after like an hour, I looked like crap again. Wonderful. But it was like one of the hottest days ever, too. But I went over to his house, and we just sat in his room and talked for a little while till his parents were ready and we were going to leave. And we were just joking around, and it was so fun. And it was really nice to get to talk to him again in person. So we ended up going to Warped Tour, and we saw a bunch of bands, and we were joking around and having a great time. And I'm sitting there the whole time just thinking, ask me out, ask me out, ask me out, please just ask me out. Never happened. Sadly. Now to skip ahead, we hung out the day after Warped Tour. And did he ask me out? No. Did I tell him that I liked him? No. We sat and talked for a while, and inside we were both thinking, just ask me out. Just ask me out. Tell me that you like me. But neither of us were brave enough to. And later after that, I ended up having a boyfriend. My first boyfriend ever. And a couple months before homecoming, I ended up getting asked to the dance by this wonderful boy. And I had to tell him that I had a boyfriend. And inside I was like, great. You could have told me this a while ago, and I would have been like, sure. But no. I had to tell him that I didn't want to go because I had a date. And long story short, me and the kid that I was dating broke up 8 months later. And then my crush from before asked me out again. And at that point, I just didn't want a boyfriend, and I was like, right now I just really don't want a boyfriend. And a month or so later, I ended up starting talking to a friend from freshman year again, and we ended up just, for some reason, it just clicked. And I ended up dating that kid. And my crush from before found out and was not too happy because I told him I didn't want a boyfriend. And he knew the guy I was dating, which made me feel even more horrible. But I ended up dating this kid for a while. And he was 1 year older than me. I was a sophomore? No, I was a junior, he was a senior. He was in the same grade as my crush. So we ended up dating for a while. Not a good story. I don't want to go into this story for YouTube, but my crush stopped talking to me for a while. And we talk once a month at most. So 10 months later, when me and this guy broke up, me and my crush started talking again. A little bit. Just a little bit, not as much. Because I think he was still mad at me because we'd hung out a few times while I was dating this guy in big groups of people. And the summer after junior year, I reconnected with a friend from middle school. And her name was Cece, and I hung out with her and Matt every day. Matt was her boyfriend. And Cece was my crush's sister, and the plot thickens. But like I said, we hung out every single day, and she kind of knew that he liked me, but she didn't know that I liked him. And I was hanging out with her every day, and we were going to the concert in the park and everything. And when she found out that I liked him, she was like, oh my gosh, just ask him out, ask him out, ask him out. And soon enough, everybody knew. Just everybody knew, and everybody's sitting there telling me, ask him out, ask him out, ask him out. And I'm like, no. He'll get mad. He'll get really mad at me. And I was at a bonfire with her and her family and everything, and everybody's like, just ask him out. He was at a Lindsey Sterling concert at the moment, so I couldn't ask him out then. But everybody was like, ask him out, just ask him out. And I'm like, no, I don't want to, because then he's going to get mad at me, or he's going to think I'm weird. So I just changed the subject as best as I could, and a couple days later, me and Francisco ended up Skyping, which was the first time forever, if the first time ever, I don't even remember, but we ended up Skyping, and we were joking around like friends, and it was awesome. But yet again, he still wasn't really answering my text messages. We weren't really, other than that Skype call, we didn't really talk that much. And a few days later, I had decided I was going to tell him that I liked him. And I was at his house, but I was hanging out with his sister, so I texted him, and I was like, hey, can we talk? And I could see him look at his phone. Like, I knew he looked at his phone, but he didn't answer me. So I was like, okay. and we just didn't talk until I went to a barbecue at his house for his graduation. They had a little barbecue, and I met a bunch of his family members. I was hanging out over there, and he comes out of the house, and one of his family members goes, "Hey, Francisco, she's got something to tell you." And I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have anything to tell you. And everybody's like, tell him! Tell him! And I'm like, I'm not gonna tell him. I don't want to. And his sister yells out, "Francisco! Cassie wants to know if you'll go out with her." And he walked away. He went inside. And I was like, great. Not only did I just ruin my chances with my crush, but he hates me now. So, ignore the train in the background. The way I ended up fixing this was I texted him and I was like, I'm really sorry. I didn't want them to do that. I really didn't want them to ask you. And he was like, it's okay, but I really don't want to date. I don't want to date anyone until after college. And I was like, okay, I understand. And then I ended up crying. I sat in my room crying. I was like, great. Great. And we didn't really talk for a couple days. And everybody's bugging me still, and I'm hanging out with my friends, and everybody's like, oh, ask him out, he'll say yes. And I'm like, no, he said no. He said no to me already. Let's drop this subject. And a few days later, I ended up getting a text message, and I open my phone, and I see it was his name, and my heart starts racing, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And the text message is something about, I like you, and you like me, why don't we just go out? And I ended up, I just kind of froze, and I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yes. And he was like, are you joking? And I'm like, no, I'm not joking. I am completely serious. I am so happy right now. But I said yes, and I was just so happy and so relieved. Finally, after pretty much 3-4 years now, I was just like, oh my gosh, finally. Finally. But that's not where my story ends. I ended up being told by him that I couldn't tell anyone that we were dating. And I was like, okay. Got really sad for a second there. Like, it was hard. And I was like, okay, I won't tell anybody. And he had said that I could say that I had a boyfriend, but I couldn't say who it was. And I was like, okay. I told one of my friends I had a boyfriend. Cece, in fact. And she was like, she ends up saying, she's like, is it my brother? And I was like, no. And she's like, it's my brother. And she told several people. So it ended up, like, it was kind of a little bit of a secret between me, Matt, and one of their friends. And it got really awkward because we'd be at Francisco's, and we'd all be sitting at the kitchen table, and Francisco would be sitting over on the couch with his buddies, and everybody would be like, oh, go hug your boyfriend. Go give your boyfriend a kiss. And I'm like, no. No one's supposed to know. I was like, stop, you guys. He's gonna know that you know. And then Francisco would look over and we all like start giggling like little kids. I don't know. And he was just like giving me a weird look, and I was just like, I don't know. So that's pretty much my long story that led up to such a short ending. But it was just great to be able to start dating him and know that after 3, almost 4 years, that this guy that I had crushed on for forever ended up being the love of my life. And I'm gonna be doing a couple more videos on what, like, the story after this, and how we got engaged, and all the other stuff. But all I can say is I'm really, really lucky, and I'm so excited to be starting off this YouTube with him. So hopefully you get to watch other videos by us if you subscribe, if you like this video. If not, oh well, it's okay. But I hope you found this video kind of entertaining, and yeah.